It gives me great pleasure to call upon our guest of honor here at the inaugural ceremony. Please welcome the Minister of Technology, Research and Atomic Energy, Honorable Champika Ranawaka, to address the gathering.
Honorable Dr. Sarath Tamanugama and office bearers of CSSL, Excellencies, foreign delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad to be here among us you this afternoon at the inauguration of the National Information Technology Conference 2014 organized by the Computer Society of Sri Lanka. I reckon that this national conference is organized for the 32nd time, and I also reckon that Computer Society of Sri Lanka count 5 more years of history. 37 years is certainly a long history for any active professional association, and it is particularly so for a professional association representing a relatively young profession such as information technology. I must say that theme of this conference, ICT for the Inclusive Development, is something that I found particularly interesting. I also noted that growth and equity has also been identified as one of the ideals that the international forum that is supporting this event had been apparently seeking to promote. Growth and equity and inclusive development are two of those common buzzwords that typically adorn the titles of many international fora on development. The role of ICT as a tool for facilitating development in a national setting is indeed an interesting proposition. One can see that sometimes there is a tendency to treat the development of ICT in isolation. It is true that ICT is a powerful tool, but the fact remains that tool remains a tool. Therefore, the effectiveness of harnessing the potential of ICT for overall in national development efforts will depend on the intrinsic effectiveness of those development strategies and programs which are seeking to deploy ICT. ICT can enable many good things and as well as bad things to happen in a shorter time at a lesser cost. ICT for the sake of ICT obviously has little meaning. Therefore, something that has to be clearly outlined in the present dialogue on ICT for inclusive development or ICT for equity and growth is that ICT could only be an important enabler or a facilitator in an intrinsically prudent, rational set of strategies and programs aimed to achieve those ideas. ICT is a cross-cutting tool whose application transcends almost all subject and disciplines boundaries. It is very likely that some discussions would emerge on possible future technology development across multidisciplinary fronts. Perhaps one classical example of the fusion of such multidisciplinary fronts would be fusion of what are known as dry technologies and those known as wet technologies. As we know, what have been traditionally referred to as wet technologies are such technologies as biotechnology, gene technology, etc. Information and communication technologies, on the other hand, are known as dry technologies. Such phenomenal development across technology frontiers are exemplified by the current research aimed at artificial extension of human memory capacity by a fusion of biotechnologies and ICTs. I believe it is pertinent to mention here that the National R&D Investment Plan, which was recently launched by Ministry of Technology and Research, is an example of a comprehensive national initiative involving multiple domains of development actions with multiple technology intervention with ICT, among others, constituting very important cross-cutting interventions. Sri Lanka's economy entered into middle-income territory in 1998. In today's norms, the middle income range is from US dollars 1,090 to 12,665. Sri Lanka's official state economic institution maintain that the country is steadily progressing from the status of low middle income country towards the next higher income bracket of US dollars 4,000 to 8,000. They also forecast consistent and sustained growth rate in excess of 8% during the period 2015 to 2018. One of the popular views held by some scholars with regard to strategic option available as the dominant growth strategy for Sri Lanka's economy is to shift from now saturated dominant strategy of factor-driven stage of production, which was relied upon the process of country's graduation from a poor country to the status of low middle income country, sequentially through the efficiency-driven stage, eventually to the innovation-driven stage. There's absolutely no logical reason why the second and third stage listed above should be in the particular sequence in succession, except perhaps that they are listed in that sequence in textbooks. More increase of per capita GDP is not something that we can be content with. Striving to mere increase of per capita GDP would well lead to social unrest and destabilization and eventual collapse of social capital. In the meantime, the risk of collapse of ecological systems due to degradation of water, soil, air, and biospecies could not all be underestimated. Therefore, the triple principle of economic development policy, strategy, or action plans that should act as a pillars of a sustainable future should be sustainable economic development, sustainable social development, sustainable environmental development. In this context, that we have identified the 10 priority areas for intervention during the next 5 years from 2015 to 2020, namely water, food, nutrition and agriculture, health, shelter, environment, energy, textile and apparel, mineral resources, information and communication technologies, and knowledge services, and basic sciences, emerging technologies, and indigenous knowledge. Further, we have also identified 10 strategic interventions. They are policy planning, pure and applied research, innovation, information and communication technologies, nanotechnology, biotechnology, indigenous knowledge and intellectual property rights, testing, standardization and accreditation, capacity building, and popularization. Accordingly, we have 100 activities at most. We called it triple T metrics. We have identified an annual investment requirement by the state and the private sector, which may change during the mid-course depending on the progress. Further, we have to estimate the economic benefit that those interventions would lead the nation under appropriate socio-economic factors. Finally, I wish all success for this conference and would like to thank the organizers for the invitation.